Hello, welcome to episode number 108 in this series where I'm programming an NES game from scratch tonight live. Yes, 2 live streams in a row in the series because the live stream cut out midway through the previous recording. So I figured I'd make up for it and we'll do a stream twice this week. Hopefully the streaming will go better this time. I don't know what happened with my internet connection. It just suddenly... The downstream was fine, but the upstream totally crapped out on me. So hopefully that won't happen this time. Anyway, so in the last episode, I worked on fixing the attribute updates for the repeat scrolling of the metatiles. And then I decided that I wanted to break things again and switched from vertical to horizontal mirroring to help fix the artifact that we were seeing where without the overscan we would get updates on the bottom showing through, but of course that then broke the scrolling that we've built here. So what we need to do is we need to fix that today, and that shouldn't be too hard. And then switch between scrolling the levels and scrolling the repeated metatiles, and just kind of be able to alternate back and forth between that. And then the nice thing about being able to do that is, as I mentioned in the previous stream, we should be able to... That's interesting. So it's actually... The scrolling is... messed up too. Well, anyway, we'll all of that is going to be broken because of the switch to the mirroring from one to another. But anyway, so and then the other reason we did that is because, like I had mentioned in Crisis Force, they do this effect where they're panning the camera back left and right, which looks really cool, and it's easy to do if you have the horizontal mirroring instead of vertical. Because then you don't have to draw anything else. The mirroring takes care of the additional tiles that you would want. So yeah, let's get into that. Before I start though, real quick, if you haven't checked out NEScape or Nescape from Kahan Games, you should. The what is it called? The campaign on Kickstarter is doing great, but certainly you don't want to miss out on getting the game. It's really fun. I got to play it at MagFest. It's pretty challenging, and you don't have to take my word for it. The bunch of other YouTubers have reviewed it and given their 2 cents on it. So with I think some spoilers, so they let you know, because it's a puzzle game and it's an escape room game, and so you can't kind of show it off without potentially ruining some of the puzzles. But anyway, so that's that. The other thing is, just real quick, thinking about changing up the layout of the way that the recording is done for live streams, where the comments will show up on sort of this part of the screen, and then we'll condense the actual coding part down into the left-hand side. So we have the comments on the top, and then me, and then the screen. Let me know what you think about that, because I'd like to change it up. I think it would be useful to have the comments show up so I don't have to read them all the time. People will be able to see them in the stream. But anyway, so that's that'll be for next time. I got to figure out how to do that. So anyway, so when we changed the scrolling, the mirroring, that broke things because you can see it updated the screen over here, but then we're missing the screen where the scrolling is. So let's start off by fixing that. So this name table for the background starts at 2800. In the code to load the memory for the background, we're starting at 2000 to do that load, which is the top part, but the scroll is set wrong for that. So I mean, there are a couple of things we could do, right? We could say, okay, well, we're gonna scroll starting at the top and then kind of wrap around and load that way, or we could load the screen on the bottom and then scroll that way and load all the way up. I'm going to just shift down the way that we're scrolling. I'm pretty sure that will fix part of it. I doubt that it will fix everything, because I'm sure there's some stuff with the way that we're updating the scroll register that's wrong. Oh, and the attribute is wrong too. We're not updating the right attribute table here. So the good news though is that we've got the background partially right. The updates are happening a little bit too late because we have the overscan turned off. But that's cool. So the collision occurs properly, and now we're scrolling and updating. Okay. So we got to change the attribute updates for the bottom of the screen to handle that properly. We also got to get rid of the code that updates the background to say press start, and then the scrolling is not correct. So that wasn't too bad actually to fix that. So let's fix the attributes now so that this gets done properly. Let's see. Question is, where do we do that here? So that's loading our tiles, and then looks like sprite mem gets changed. Well, where are we updating? I thought we were updating the address. Where are we writing to 2700 for the attribute? Or sorry, 2007. Okay, so here we go. So instead of writing to 23C0, I think it would be 28C0. No, not 28C0. What am I saying? It's 960 tiles, right? So 2800 plus 960, 2BC0. So 2BC0. So that will fix the attributes being loaded incorrectly on the first screen. Okay, cool. So if we go back for a second, you can see that we're loading the map. There are a few things here that we need to fix, right? So the map is getting loaded, but we're not updating that bottom row properly. I don't know how many metatiles should there be. 3. So we're not updating this properly because there is nothing to update. I think what we need to do, or there is something to update, but we're just not doing it correctly. So what we need to do is we need to go a little bit further down. Think about this. It's because we're updating the metatiles. Hey, Banchiku, how's it going? I think our... Let me go back to this for a second. Well, that's a whole metatile on the bottom. Right, so if we do 240 by 16, that's 15 rows. So we're not calculating this exactly right. So let's go back to see. I forget, I think the first screen is written out to just go is written out backwards. Is it? No, it's written out forwards. I'm trying to think of what that format was, and then the rest of it is written out backwards to accommodate not having to find the new location of the map and do any complex math. It's just in order. So what we want to do is find, let's see, where are we doing the load? Map position initialize. So load a max rows and then subtract, we're subtracting 14? Not sure why we're doing that. There we go. That looked better. So that's got our whole, yeah, so that's got the whole screen populated now. And now the only other thing that is, the other thing, well, that could be improved too. All right, and then that's broken because we had shifted everything essentially. So if we went one more metatile row off screen, that would solve that essentially empty row at the top, and then it would look pretty good. Let's see, so we're taking max rows and subtracting 15 from it. Can we do an extra row, and then that would, should probably, instead of guessing, just actually look at what we're doing here. But I think I'm adding 3. So let's see, so take max rows and subtract, made it 15 and multiply by 16 number metatiles in a row. To get the top first screen, do a 16-bit shift to carry to move the most significant bit over to temp2. So we're doing our 16-bit shift to calculate that value, and then add ROM address to temp and temp2 in order to seek into map accordingly. Yep, so that's all good. When do we stop? Well, also, I think what we want to do, I think the problem is that we're essentially, I mean, so what we're doing is every time we hit the 8 pixel measure, we're updating the screen. It looks like now we've broken the calculation of where the ship is, though, relative to the background. I almost think that that was probably not the right thing to do for the background. The thing is that what we need to do, among other things, is be updating a row ahead of where the scroll is. So this is us loading the tiles. The offset gets normalized. Where are we doing our... branch not equal load tiles. So let's see, what's 1E? That's 30. 30 metatiles. Or what is this? Oh, 30 rows. Right? Because we're checking for X, we're checking 20. And then for the Y, we're checking... 32 for X, and then 20 for, or 30 for Y. But we really want to load one extra row. Well, part of the issue with doing that that we're going to go into the boundary past 2800, right? Because we're going to, we're in this name table. Where are you? So this is 2BC0. TraceX dump. Thank you for having all your video on demands on YouTube channel. I was going to start at the first episode and jump to 6502 assembly after I graduate this summer. Well, you're welcome. I'm glad they're useful. You know, I'm going to try and put more of the 0 pages things out so that you guys can see sort of more concentrated versions of what I've learned here. No, glad that that's helping you out. All right, so we're at 2800, and then we're going to jump to 2380. So if we start there and we do an extra row, let me see something. So when we get to the end of this, we're initializing the sprite, not sprite mem, the screen mem to 23C0, which is, let's see, 23C0 would be... what is, oh, you know what? Let's see. That's actually not 23C0. Where is that? 23A0, C0. Huh. Why is it at... Oh, because it's going to subtract 1 to go to A0, or one whole row. A0 is not actually a valid... it's not actually a valid address in the name table, so it's just subtracting 1 to go back to A0, and then to 80, and so on and so forth. I'm wondering if I want to just leave that alone for now. Put a to-do in there, because if we have overscan, if this were being played on a CRT, other than the initial problem at the beginning, you don't see this at all, and it works better than the previous implementation where the attribute updates were showing up in the bottom because of the limited granularity of the attributes. And so I think what I'll do is I will put I'm going to put a note for myself here that we want to, at some point, by ensuring that we update the row before the row that is not visible as we scroll, because without overscan you can see this. I mean, we have to fix this, but I don't know that we have to fix it right now. just because I want to move on to fixing the scrolling not working correctly, and part of that is going to be the issue caused by the fact that we are now doing a different type of mirroring. So what's happening is the scroll register is getting updated incorrectly somehow. So let's fix that. We should also let's fix that. I think that's 2005 is where that gets updated. Okay, so scroll X and scroll Y. This interrupt handler is no longer used, so where are we doing the updates? We're doing it purely here for scroll X and scroll Y. So, and we're not even updating scroll X at all. So let's see, decrement scroll Y, load A, compare it to FF, and branch if not equal to EF. Load EF to scroll Y. Where are we doing? Where are we doing our setup? So there's the offset. Grab the NES Dev reference here. We have an offset bit that we're changing. And it looks like it's getting flipped. Yeah, so, okay. So, yeah, the problem is we're not going to 2800, probably. So where are we updating 2000? That is the reset. Okay, so the swap. Load a 30 swap 30 1 2. So background pattern table and sprite size. I don't think that's what I'm. Store A into swap. Oh, okay. So when we load the new game state, we're updating that. Okay. So we're loading that and then doing an OR against swap. All right, so when we start the new game, we're initializing this to be, let's see, generate the NMI and also background table address 1000. Okay. So where are we addressing the first 2 bits that get changed in order to change which base name table address we're using? I would imagine that that's going to be well, it should be where are we doing that? DMA copy our sprites. That's all good. So somewhere we're updating that swap variable, but I can't seem to find it. All right, I'm only using it there. We're doing an OR A on the bit pattern and whatever the value of swap is. Well, let's swap. This is what? This is clear object entities. So I guess it must be in this here. Wait for v blank. Store game. No, this is the initialization of the game. So this is the title screen. Guess I should have used something other than a variable that I reused in a bunch of other places. So that's the title screen blinking for the press start. Load new game, load the bits, store it and swap. I mean, it's possible I'm not doing it that way, but that'd be strange. Because I don't know how else I would be doing it. Let's see where else we reference address 2000. So we're storing. Okay. Done loading. Stored in there. That's good. Literally just there. Oh, you know what? No, this makes sense. So this is why this is... Okay. So what's happening... Interesting. So what's happening is we're not swapping because before we weren't using... We were using... Yeah. So before we were using vertical mirroring. So when we flipped it back over to update the rest of the screen... We didn't have to do that because we weren't shifting all the way down. So now we got to change that because that's no good anymore. We do need to, it's not good enough to just simply flip back down to the bottom. We actually have to go all the way. So what we have to do is at the point where scroll Y rotates over, we want to, let's see, so we've gotten to this point, and what we want to do is we want to, and the nice thing is that it's just bit 2, so we can just load a swap exclusive OR 2. And every time we do that, it will just flip back and forth. So I think this will, assuming I got the bit pattern right, which we'll find out in a minute. Which I didn't. Let's fix that. So that's the other thing, is that when we initialize the start of the game, at that point, we're already on the bottom part of the name table here, so our base name table... Oh, wait a minute. Am I conflating two different things? No, I'm not, because this base name table address offsets the scroll, right? Scroll pixel horizontal offset range normal while values by changing across reveal background. Scroll. Hold the base address. Yeah, it's the base address. Okay, so that was right, but it's just that I've got to start off with this because we're starting off on the bottom one, which is located at 2800. So that's 2, and then the next one is at 2 that we go to is 2000. So okay. I guess the scroll position start is wrong too now. That looks a little bit like we're getting closer. Although I'm surprised. Should just be. What is initializing it to? Is it initializing it to anything? I guess they're going to be 0 going in here. But I don't... Oh, well, this is no good. That was dumb. I don't know if you caught what I did there. I was loading, before updating scroll Y, I was loading EF and then updating the swap and storing the swap in there and messing with scroll Y incorrectly. That could have something to do with it. Yes, that is much more like it's supposed to be. Okay, and the background is meshing with the actual collision data. So that's good. And cool. And it looks like the scrolling is happening mostly correctly. There was that little brief jump there. I'm not sure what that is all about. Let's go back for a second and see what it's doing there. Is that an attribute update? You know what that might be? Let's see. Well, no, we would see if it were an attribute update. Oh, well, it was. That's weird. At the same time, the scroll was off. Let me turn off these grids. So the scroll jumped and then yeah, it might have something to do with just the attribute updates in general being wrong. Now with the repeat scroll, let's take a look. Yeah, so okay, so this is, wow, this is wrong for a few reasons. So it's only working right now if we're on the bottom, or sorry, if we're at this name table, because it's hard-coded 23C0. And that's been hard-coded because originally, again, we were doing different mirroring, so this was the only name table we were working within, and so the attribute data was always there instead of being split across two different name tables. So what we need to do, and this is actually pretty simple, is we can look at the swap variable, and depending on the swap variable, we update the appropriate address in 2006 to tell it which address we want. So we can load a swap, and then we'll and it against 2, sorry, that 2, not 20, and then branch if not equal, meaning that it is that 2 is set to this area here. Let's create a label called do attribute update. So that's this, and this is going to, after it's done, jump to do add or update. If it's equal, which means it was 0, which means that bit wasn't set. Oh, actually, we want the other way around. If it was equal, meaning that we got a 0 result, then we want to use 23C0 as our address, because then we are in a situation where we are on the name table here. If we didn't, then we are in this name table, and we want to use 2BC0. So same code. Here, just a different address. And then we don't have to jump, we just fall through. And that should fix the attribute updates, I believe. Well, nope, it didn't. What am I missing? 202800. Right, 2BC0. Right, that's 2820 plus whatever 960 in hex is, 3C0. So 2BC0. So that is the address we want. Load a swap, and it with 2. If bit 2 is set, then we are in 2800. So branch if equal, which means it's 0. At 0, we're in no, I reversed it. I thought I had it right the first time. Okay, cool. So those updates look good now. Um, nice. And so now all those attribute updates are happening in the right portion of the name table memory. And that is almost correct. Oh. Huh. Okay. And then it looks like now we're seeing the problem. We're seeing the problem. Is this the problem that we were seeing last time where things are slightly out of sync? Or is this a different problem? Because what it seemed like was happening in the last episode was as scrolling continued on, the rate of the scroll was slower than the rate, faster than the rate of the update. And so we ever so slightly got out of sync, and then you started seeing the updates even with the overscan hiding the top. No, this is something else. The table updates for the tiles look okay. It's just when we were at the bottom portion of the screen, it looked like, well, you know, it could even be doing something where the attributes are still not getting updated right, but because we've hit a point over there where we've got the right values, it's partially working now. So what we might want to do when we do the switch over, I got to think about that a little bit here as we look at the code, but let's see that go through again, because what appears to be happening is that it's the transition that's giving us the problem. So we can slow it down a little bit. I don't want to slow it down too much. It already takes a while to do a full update. So when we get to the point that we're transitioning between the 2000 name table and the 2800 name table, when we get to the bottom, we update the tiles, but the attributes are not updated. Now, I assume oh, wait. I think I know what the problem is. Where is that subroutine? What did I call it? I wrote a subroutine to adjust the memory for the, check screen mem. I wrote this subroutine to check it to make sure that it was within the right range, but you know what? Those are the old ranges. So let's see. So if we compare it to E0, and it's not equal, then we're done. Otherwise, load the first part, and if it's 1F, okay, so 2B A0. Oh, you know, that's actually right for this. Although, interestingly, well, I mean, okay. All right. So that worked with vertical mirroring, but it worked because it was mirroring, not because it was necessarily even the best address to write it to, because we could have just as easily flipped it back over to 2.3 A0. And that would have worked. It just happened to work out that way, that's what we're doing here. Now, if we get to a point where it's, let's see, so compare to 1F, if it's not equal, then checks against 2.7, which means we've hit the bottom of this. And if that's 2.7A0, then we're going to load 2.3A0. So that's actually right. So why are the attributes wrong? Probably because, oh, you know, we're probably not doing the swap correctly anymore. Let's see. Is it doing this here even if we're doing... No, it's doing it here even if we're doing repeat, huh? Okay. Load 0 stored in camera counter. Decrement. I actually don't know why we're using EF. Why are we using EF? Because technically, well, let's see. Let's see what's the worst thing that could happen, or what happens when we do this, because that seems... I'm sure I was doing it for a reason, but I've forgotten what it is. Let's see what that reason is. Well, that's interesting. Let's just, you know, we'll keep this, but we'll make it FE so that it's not triggering the swap over and over again incorrectly. That's weird. Let me take a look at this because I've forgotten. It's so long that we've looked at the scrolling that I don't remember. Oh, because, right, because there aren't 256 pixels on the Y. So you make it, what, 239. I guess that's probably what EF is. Yep, it's 239. Okay, that makes sense then. Let's document that so I don't do this again. This has to be EF because there are only 239 vertical pixels. Okay. That's why good comments are important. And I try to write good comments, but, you know, you just forget sometimes. I don't know if I mentioned this, but I used to have former colleagues who complained about the fact that I wrote too many comments explaining things. So there's definitely a balance, obviously, that you have to maintain. But I've also seen people write stuff that has no comments, or I've seen people write things that are, you know, useless comments, like you're initializing a variable and using decimal values helps too. Yeah, I feel like forcing myself to use the hex eventually my brain will get back into being able to do quicker translations of it. But, you know, the person would write something like, you know, a equals 5, and the comment was set a, you know, or initialize a, and it's like, okay, that's not really useful, and they do that for every variable, and eventually, you know, we came to a compromise on how we were going to comment code at times, but you know, that kind of commenting is useless because it's, yes, it's factual, and yes, it's obvious, but at the same time, it's just kind of a waste of text. I try to comment on things that aren't immediately obvious when you're looking at them, or things that when I'm looking at them, I forget what they did at the time that I was looking at it again, just like I did just now. So I wonder why the attributes are not updating properly on wraparound there. Yeah, I know. It's true. Pixels, you're always thinking decimal. I don't know. Maybe it's just stubbornness. So what do you do for CC65? Do you just do pound like that to make it decimal? I don't even know. I don't generally work in decimal. CC65. I don't know that I'm going to change it right now, but I'm just curious for the sake of... I think it's just pound, but... Percent is binary. Dollar or trailing H denotes hex, and a bare number is interpreted as decimal. So technically that pound 239, that's the same thing as what we had there. So could do something like that, I guess. All right, so big mystery here that hopefully we can get solved in the next 5 minutes maybe is why the attribute updates are not happening properly when we switch to the bottom name table. It's like partially updating it. It's updating it with the value from the top, it looks like. Oh, that would make sense. So what's happening is it's not updating the attributes here in time. It's like when the swap occurs, it's not realizing. So what is it updating when it comes time to update those tiles? That's weird. Because it's updating the tiles, it should be updating the attributes at the same time. Let's see. Oh, you know, it could also be... Well, I don't know. Maybe. I thought it could be because... No, because it would be the same... I was thinking because of the fact that it's scrolling around onto the new name table. It's something with the half byte that it has to update, but that's the same regardless. So just for some reason not setting it. All right. So here's our repeat scrolling process. Scroll Y, check for that. Load a screen mem. Subtract 20 hex, so subtract our 32 tiles. And then we check our screen memory. So we will have fixed it if it scrolled off the bottom. And then we're going to update the metatile flag to let it know that we are loading a new row. And so we update all this stuff. Process, that's the process of that. Skip row process, load new tile row. Where are we? Oh, right, load new tile row is down here. Some of this is going to have to be moved around because just the way that it was written, it's kind of all interleaving, and it's starting to get confusing. I mean, some of it is laid out okay, and some of it is even in separate files and all, but all right, so load background metatile, and then let's find our metatile, and then so the next part is, okay, once we're done, let's see, flip the bit. Okay, so if we've gotten to the point where we're done loading the row, we're going to skip this jump, which is fine. So the next time through, increment metatile flag, which would make it 3. I don't know why. Let's take a look at that code. It should still be updating the attribute flag to let it know that it is going to require an update. Now let's disable this breakpoint here for a second. Let's back it up. Okay. So let's... All right, so where are we in this update here? So we... that's weird. Why scroll down here? Set a breakpoint. You know what? I'm not going to worry about that right now. One more row. Okay, so this is the last row that got updated here. So the next one we're going to update is this one after. So we're going to scroll, and then we're going to see this one get updated. And then we have to see why, or is that the one that's getting updated? I actually don't know. What is screen mem set to? Screen mem is set to... No, that's not right. That's the subroutine. Where is the actual variable? It is set to be A0, which is down here. So that's okay. So that's where we're going to be updating, is that row next. And attribute index should be at the bottom of the screen as well. It is. It's at 38 hex, right? So that's Is that right? It would be 64 minus, what, 16? Should be 48, which is 30. Oh no, minus 8, which is 38 in hex. Okay, so that's okay. That is the right offset into that buffer. So we're telling it, it's set to 2 right now, so we're going to increment it and tell it that we want to update the attributes. And now we're just going through the process of getting all of that set up here with whatever shifts and whatnot we need to. So temp now has the appropriate byte value in it, which just happens to be 0 in this case. And then we're going to load X attribute index and transfer X to A, clear our carry, and add 8. And then store it. Okay. X is 3.8, so we're just updating attribute buffer with that value, which that makes sense. That looks right. It's just going to be storing whatever the bottom portion of that is will get overwritten, and we'll have the new attribute value in it. But I guess the question is that after that occurs, which position is it storing? Let's see what swap is set at right now. Swap is currently set at 8. It's 8.8. So that's 1000 and 100000, which is not right because we should be updating this part now for the attribute. So why didn't swap get set right? Now I thought we were processing scroll Y the same no matter what. Oh, hey, Zorchenheimer. How's it going? Hey, everybody. So let's see. So we've got our scroll processing the same no matter what, but why is it not updating the attribute swap? Oh, man. Okay. So I'm doing all right. Just trying to keep doing this every week. You know, it's tough with life going on. How's your streaming going on? How are your projects going on? Let's see. I am doing well. Almost done with my current project. Just have the audio engine to finish. Nice. That's awesome. Wish I could say the same. So why didn't that get swapped? Let's take a look. Let's see if that breakpoint gets called. Let's disable these breakpoints here. rewind. Small problem is I don't know how to write music that doesn't sound like a cat walking on the keyboard. Well, you know, there are lots of talented musicians in the scene, so I'm sure you'll be able to find someone who can write some music for you. I mean, I plan on writing the music for my own game here because I do know how to write music. But there is the challenge of the whole audio engine thing. And then you get into like what they did with Micromages, where they wrote all this cool compression to make the music work. And, you know, and you hear about how limited it was compared to some of these other sound engines that are out there. And you're like, I'm complaining about how minimalistic everything sounds and how you know, confined I feel, and meanwhile these guys wrote these awesome soundtracks with such minimal capabilities built into the game. Yeah, it really. I have the ROM, and I haven't had a chance to really play it more than a few minutes. I actually spent a bit of time playing it at MagFest when Paul. Who's on the stream right now from Infinite NES Lives had it set up there, and man, it was so fun. It was really cool also to see. There was this group of friends who came over. I think there were 4 of them, and they were all playing together. And it was just really, really cool to see all 4 of them having a great time playing it. All right, so let's see here. What did I break with this swap? So swap is right now set to 8.8, which is what I expected it to be. So far so good. Now what we should get is when we hit the 8 pixel boundary, we should switch over, I think. Should be at the point that we're going to do that update. Let me see something here also, 239. It's weird. It looks like... I wonder if I'm still updating Scroll Y. Based on the old code for the interrupt. I don't understand why the scroll is jumping like that right now. Oh, I missed it. Damn it. Oops. Crap. Okay, let's see if I can... Let's see if I got lucky and got this here. There we go. All right, so we're at that point where we should be updating the next row. What is swap set to? That's the address. I want the value, please. That's still set to 8.8. What are my scroll values set to? 7.0. So we haven't yet hit... Am I too early in this? Am I looking at the wrong thing? I'm looking at the wrong thing, aren't I? Where are my scroll? Does not show the scroll register values? I thought it did. Yes, there is a back step, but there's way more, I think, to go back than I wanted to. So I need to kind of position it in the right spot before using the back step. There's just a lot more going on there. I've used that before when I was evaluating you know, what a function was doing, but this is a pretty wide-ranging bit of code. Bridgewater, another one spoiled by that debugger. Yeah, I mean, I could do it without it if I had to, but why put myself through that if I don't need to? Oh, that's where. So that's X scroll. Where is Y scroll? That's only X scroll? Okay. That's weird. I don't understand. I don't understand why it's not hitting the swap. For this. I mean, I guess I do, and it's because we're doing the update. Yeah, so the problem is we're doing the update when we've already scrolled, and then at that point, okay, that makes sense. That makes more sense now. Now that I'm thinking this part through. So what's happening is so scroll Y hits 0. That causes us to load the next row into the name table, which is fine. We also tell the NMI code to update the attributes, but the problem is that it's updating it in the wrong name table. And the reason that it's the wrong name table, excuse me, is because at the next change that we do, scroll Y rolls over to FF, right? And then we tell swap, okay, flip your bit for whatever name table we need to be updating for attributes. And at that point, it's already too late. We've already updated the tiles on the bottom, but not the attributes there. And then moving forward, it would be correct, but also, I guess, a row out of sync. So the question then becomes, I guess we need to accommodate for that in that if we are processing the repeat scroll and scroll Y is 0, well, no. Should we check if scroll Y is 0 and then switch it over to 240 so the next time around it goes down to 239? We could try that. I don't know that that will work. I mean, I think that's roughly going to be equivalent, but let's see. Turn off these breakpoints momentarily. Let's see what happens when we run this. Alright, well, so that obviously didn't do what I wanted it to do. It's now flipped over to the wrong... It's on the wrong name table, and it's still doing that stupid flip thing that it's doing. I did change the mirroring from vertical to horizontal because I wanted to fix the problem that you noticed in the last stream with the attributes and the way that it was updating with the overscan turned off. So this will fix that, but it is still not 100% perfect. The other thing we can do is coming into here, if we see that the scroll Y is 239, then we... No, that won't work. I just don't want it to double swap. The swap works okay for the... Swap works okay for the map. Just trying to think what would be the right way to force this to switch which attribute bytes it's updating. I mean, what I could do, I could do this. Are we, let's see, are we forcing the initialization? Yeah, we're forcing the initialization here. Let's do this. Oh, but that still doesn't solve the problem. I was going to say we force it to update the attributes, but it's already doing that. The problem is that it's updating the wrong attributes. Because it's updating... You know what we could do? That might work. So when we do the check for screen mem, I think it might be... I think what we would want to do is force the swap appropriately here as well, so that when we adjust after we've gone off the bottom of the screen, not only are we writing in the right position in memory, but we're also switching the palette at that point. Sorry, not the palette, the attribute base correctly here. So if we're at 2BA0, then we're load A. And store that into swap, right? Because that's the one address offset, and then the other one is here, and it's this. I think that might do it. Although we may still have a problem with it doing a double swap. We'll find out in a minute when we go off the edge of the screen. Yeah, it did a double swap. Damn. I guess what we need to do is disable that swap detection when we're doing the repeat scroll. Because while it works for the map, it does not. Although, you know, it may not even work for... It may not even work for the map, because right now the map is not traversing. We'll have to come back to that. But let's for now say if the background mode is traversing the background, is repeat scroll, then we're not going to do that. So background mode, blah, blah. And one day I'll standardize on if I want all caps labels or mixed case labels. That's just a dumb mistake. Let's try that again. Check the wrong condition there because I wasn't paying attention. Where the hell's the PPU? There. Okay. Well, it's still not right. Why? It did update the attributes, but again, it felt like it did it after the fact, and well, it did it okay, but it just didn't update the bottom of it. Why? Let's watch. I'm gonna watch the updates here. It could be that it's working okay now. It's just something with the way that the swap is breaking. No, it updated the attributes and the tiles at the same time. Okay, so it's updating it now, but it's not updating it with what it should be. So, okay, so what we, why did it not update the attribute in the attributes here at the bottom now? Is there... Man, you know how much time would be saved by not having to deal with attributes? I feel like a broken record with this, but I really do dislike attributes so much. I don't know if the data is good, Paul. That's the thing I'm wondering about, is if there was just a bug in it from the very beginning. Where's my debugger? So the attribute buffer is right at the beginning. Okay, so, and it's just 64 bytes. So it looks like it's not... because it should be using palette 0. So it looks like it's not even updated correctly. It looks like something else has gone wrong there. Just make my project monochrome. Yeah, you're right. It's artistic. Let's see. So what I don't... Let's get rid of these. And let's disable this for a second and go back to... Let's go back to the moment in time when we are actually updating the name table here. And see what we're actually updating here. Okay, so the attribute buffer, if it's 64 bytes, goes up to 3F. So these are our bytes, and there are going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them. And so what we should see is that we get an update that we get an update that will, where is the, where is that? Get an update that would update what? The lower portion of that byte, right? So what we should see, what is this? Those are the new tiles. Okay. So what we should see is that these 8 bytes, the bottom, the lower 4 bits go to 0 as we do this. And also attribute index, let's see what that's set to. That is set to 3.8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's fine. So let's see what we actually get here. Attribute mode is 0F. Which is wrong. It's wrong. And it's wrong because we have to adjust for, I think, the same thing. When we do the swap, we have to make the attribute, well, the attribute mode should be set that way. But, oh, I wonder, because we're not processing the map anymore, it's not doing, yeah, because we're not processing the map anymore, it's not doing the swap of the attribute mode mask anymore, I guess. Let's take a look. That might be why this is happening. It's just alternating in the wrong pattern now. This is, yes, this is all for the regular map stuff. Okay, so in that same in check screen mem, should be able to do the same thing, which is we force the attribute mode to be the correct for that weird half attribute portion. So load A, I forget now. So what we actually want it to be is bottom half in both cases. We can just, yeah. And that should maybe fix that. So that means that it was probably broken before as well, but I just didn't know it. It's always fun when you come back to code that you wrote and you thought it was working. You look at it and you're like, nope, this hasn't worked in forever. Set the speed to normal. The best part of something like that, when you come back to code and you go, yep, this isn't working, never worked, is when you have a customer who insists that it worked and that they were using it and it was fine up until the last update they did. And you have to be like, look, you can't usually say, look, it never worked, because that doesn't look good, right? But sometimes that's the truth, is that it just didn't ever work. There we go. I was distracted by the PPU viewer, so let's go back and look at this just in the emulator straight up. Okay, that's looking right. Oh, that was not right. So when we do that transition, that's interesting. So we're just getting a momentary it's literally just a moment where, let's see, so what are we seeing there? It's a moment where the scroll is transitioning, it looks like. The scroll, the attribute gets updated and the scroll gets updated incorrectly. Is that the double update that I was worried about? I think it is. Let's see if we can catch it happening in 2 steps. Yep. All right, so what's happening there is we're doing a swap and then another swap. Or multiple swaps, something like that. But it shouldn't be doing that, because we shouldn't be compare load background mode. Compare branch if equal to skip attribute swap, otherwise it will load swap and eor and then swap store. Is it doing what I think it is? It's So the first thing that happens when we hit there is the attributes get updated, and then the scroll position is what? What's scroll Y? It's at 0. So we've got our scroll. Okay, so it's a remnant of that same problem where we haven't finished. Yeah, we haven't exactly finished, but because of the switch over to update the memory, we've pushed the scroll, or no, sorry, we've pushed the attributes to the bottom name table. We've told the PPU we want to have a new base address at the bottom name table, but the scroll is still at 0 instead of 239. And as a result, it's showing this part of the name table instead of just the little sliver there. So should we also force it to update scroll Y? It's starting to get a little bit... I'm not sure I like the direction that's heading. I mean, I guess it maybe works, but maybe we'll have to look back at this and see if we can make this a little bit more elegant, because right now it's kind of feels a little bit janky, if I'm honest. It feels like we're kind of working around not exactly handling this properly, and you know, maybe that's gonna be fine and we'll just live with that, but I try not to do that if I don't have to. Alright, so go back to this. Let's wait till we get to... Yeah, we're showing the wrong name table when the scroll is equal to 0 because we need to update which name table we're... Oh, stop. Oh, it didn't look like it did it that time. We're right, creating future headaches based on what I was saying before. But yeah, so what's happening is when we're updating the map, dear Lord, when we're updating the map, it's okay that we are updating the swap to the next name table when the scroll actually hits the edge and rolls over. The problem is that we are also updating the next name the row of the bottom name table and the attributes of the bottom name table based on when the scroll hits a 0 position, or rather, yeah, when it hits the 0 position. That actually looked like it worked though, and so the two are a little out of sync. Which was what was causing where the tiles and the attributes were right, but the scroll was showing this whole part of the screen, not just the bottom part rolling over to the top. But that all looked okay this time. It did not do that weird jump this time. Let me just speed that up and... Now the question is it going to have the same problem when we get to the middle, or will that also have been taken care of? No, it looks like it was okay. It's a little hard to tell because the attributes are all the same now with that update. So let's see. Yeah, that looked okay. The other thing is now if I change the overscan, it looks like that might actually look decent. Other than initially, I think the tiles at the bottom are wrong. No. Okay. Well, crap. Okay, that'll be something to... It looks good for the repeat scroll. I think what I need to do is look at this. I think the problem is... Sorry, I'm thinking about what I think it is. I think that the issue is arising because of the fact that I chose to scroll and update with the overscan on and different mirroring, and now as a result the technique I was using doesn't work because of the visibility of the fact that the top tiles are totally blank. And so I'm updating along the edge of the scroll rather than ahead of the edge of the scroll like I'm doing with the repeat scroll. So I'll have to fix that. And then that'll get us the smooth transition that we're looking for, that we're seeing right now with the repeat scroll. So this is actually working perfectly now. And then that will probably fix the sort of janky code that I put into the screen mem fixer, where it's now compensating. I think that will then reconcile the differences that are causing us to have to do that in the first place, because then they'll act in a consistent way. But not tonight. I was hoping to... I mean, it's almost there. The switch over to the horizontal scrolling definitely will help things. Once I get those tiles initially working properly on the map mode, then we're good. And that's going to be nice and clean, and the attribute updates won't show up on the bottom of the screen like they were before. So... that'll be pretty cool. But yeah, that'll be for the next one, and I'll stream that one as well. Like I said, to make up for the stream from last week. It looks like my stream is crapping out now again. I don't know what the deal is with that, but anyway, I'm gonna wrap it up here. So as always, thank you for watching. If you have any questions for me, I'm on Twitter at Clearvis. I post all of these recordings on YouTube. Feel free to comment and ask questions. People have been doing that. We're at almost 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is pretty amazing to see the interest level that people have. Yeah, keep asking questions. And Zero Pages episode 5 on backgrounds will be coming out shortly, hopefully. And yeah, thanks for watching. See you on Thursday, and have a good one. Take care.